On December 14, 1799, George Washington died at his home at Mount Vernon. The new republic had lost its greatest citizen and a profound source of national unity. Less than a year later, America endured a bitter presidential election. It is known as the Revolution of 1800. On November 1st that year, incumbent John Adams, a Federalist, moved into the newly built White House. On December 3rd, he lost his re-election campaign. Yet, who the next president would be was not determined until late February of 1801. Each of the two Democratic-Republican candidates, Thomas Jefferson and Aaron Burr, had more electoral votes than Adams, but they were tied with each other. The responsibility for resolving the deadlock fell to the House of Representatives, and it would require the intervention of one of Jefferson's leading rivals. The political landscape in America was changing. More change was on the way. The 1800 presidential election revealed deep division in the new American Republic. When the election results came in, 86% of the electoral votes for Adams were from the North. Nearly 75% of the electoral votes for Jefferson were from the South. But national division was already in play during the administration of America's second president, John Adams. In the presidential election of 1796, Adams had won a narrow victory over his arch-rival, Thomas Jefferson. The two opposing founders represented their two rival parties, the Federalists and the Democratic-Republicans. Federalists favored a stronger central government. The Democratic-Republican Party, which Jefferson founded in 1792, favored a smaller federal government and greater states' rights. Federalists, especially Alexander Hamilton, favored an urban economy. Their rivals, a more agrarian economy. Under the Alien and Sedition Acts, the Adams administration had suppressed free speech in response to mounting tensions with France. Between the two chief rival powers in Europe, the Federalists favored the British. Democratic Republicans, especially Jefferson, opposed the Alien and Sedition Acts and favored France. Heading into the election of 1800, not only was the country divided along sharp political lines, the Federalist Party itself was internally divided. Adams had stiff critics in his party. He removed two Federalists from his cabinet, Secretary of War James McHenry and Secretary of State Timothy Pickering. No Federalist was more vocal a critic of Adams than Alexander Hamilton. In a long and hard-hitting letter to his party members, Hamilton questioned whether Adams was fit to be president. He decried what he called the disgusting egotism, the distempered jealousy, and the ungovernable indiscretion of Mr. Adams' temper. Intended only for fellow members of Hamilton's Federalist Party, the pamphlet fell into the hands of the Democratic-Republican Aaron Burr, who sent it into public circulation. Burr himself was intended for the position of Jefferson's vice president. Votes cast, however, were not differentiated as votes for president or vice president. Then the two Democratic-Republicans received an equal number of electoral votes, 73. According to Article 2 of the Constitution, in the case of such a tie, the vote went to the House of Representatives, which at the time was controlled by the Federalists. The voting began on February 22, 1801, during a Washington snowstorm. Over the next week, House members voted in 35 ballots. Every time, they were unsuccessful in breaking the tie. Finally, several Federalists, likely under the sway of Alexander Hamilton, decided to abstain from voting. Jefferson, they thought, was less dangerous than Aaron Burr. With ballot number 36, Thomas Jefferson was elected by the House of Representatives to be the third president of the United States. On March 4, 1801, Jefferson, with Aaron Burr at his side, was inaugurated. This event marked the first peaceful transfer of power between opposing political parties in the new American Republic. In a nod toward shared American principles and national unity, Jefferson declared in his inaugural address, We are all Republicans. We are all Federalists. Significant changes followed his inauguration. Jefferson repealed the Alien and Sedition Acts. The 1803 Louisiana Purchase, executed under his administration, doubled the territorial size of the United States. By 1804, the conflict between Hamilton and Burr turned deadly. On July 11th, Burr shot and killed his rival in a duel at Weehawken, New Jersey. That same year, the 12th Amendment was ratified, forever preventing the kind of electoral quirk that forced the House vote between Jefferson and Burr. Under Jefferson's direction, in May of 1804, Meriwether Lewis and William Clark set out from St. Louis on their expedition, the Corps of Discovery. They reached what is now Portland, Oregon, by November 1805. Their nationally acclaimed journey and its findings set the stage for the 19th century expansion of America all the way to the western coast.